The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers. United Chargers presents the Grizzly range of EV chargers. There's the original Grizzly Classic, a powerful, heavy-duty, portable EV charging station built to withstand the toughest conditions. The Grizzly Duo, a dual-port unit designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a small, portable charging station built with an indoor-outdoor rated cast aluminium enclosure. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. All Grizzly chargers come with a convenient 24-foot cable and the ability to adjust the current from 16 amps all the way up to 40 amps. That's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, they're IP67 rated. Built in Canada with the highest quality materials. Order yours now at unitedchargers.com. That's unitedchargers.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's December the 8th, 2023, and this is episode number 14. Thank you very much for joining us. On today's show, we'll be talking about towing a pair of antique electric cars with an electric truck halfway across the country, the first Flying J/EVGo/Ultium charge stations have opened, and battery company Our Next Energy powering a BMW iX for 608 WLTP miles with its hybrid pack, and of course, much, much more. I'm Dominic Yoni, host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic. Joining us today is the massively masterful Mr. Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, which is available on all the best podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle Connor will be joining us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Respect Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a number of YouTube channels. He'll be with us in just a moment. Unfortunately, Tom can't be with us today, but he'll be back next week. So hey there, everybody. Or hey there, Martin. Good morning. How you doing?
Hello to everybody in the comments as well. It's wonderful to see you, and thank you for joining us as we head towards the end of the year and that sort of wind down towards holiday season. Although it's always worth reminding myself that so much of this audience is from the US, and it's so different there to here. I remember one year we were doing this show, and I think this show fell on Christmas Eve, and I just assumed that we wouldn't be doing this show, or it was like on Boxing Day or something, and like you guys were like, no, we work in America. Like, no, we're working. And I'm like,
Christmas,
hey, in Europe, we'll be off for like a month. We'll see you sometime in January.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So last week, the entire show was all about Tesla Cybertruck. And I think we got a good bit of information out there. And I don't want to spend too much time on it today, but there are a couple of things I thought worth mentioning. So one is the EPA certification documents that were made public, which tell us a few things about the vehicle. So it lets us know that the usable battery size is 122.4 kilowatt hours, which is the number that was out there was 123 kilowatt hours. So that's basically it. And its battery specific energy is 170 watt hours per kilogram at the pack level. So I'm not sure how well this is, how understandable this is, but so the amount of it's basically the specific energy is also sometimes referred to as the gravimetric energy. It's basically how much energy the battery's cells or the pack, whichever, how much energy it holds per kilogram. So it's a pretty key size because the bigger that number goes, the lighter a pack can be, or the more energy you can put in a pack and it not be, overly heavy, like say the Hummer EV, that's got a huge, like over 200 kilowatt hour battery pack. But as the energy density goes up, or as the gravimetric energy goes up, so it'll be, you could make it a lot smaller or a lot lighter pack. And yet usually that's also in line with the volumetric energy density as well. So, volume and weight are really the two big kind of things that you look at with energy, with battery chemistries. So, but this is interesting because the Cybertruck now has a 170 watt hour per kilogram energy density at the pack level. So this number is very interesting because the Cybertruck has the next gen version of the 4680 cells. Those are the big ones that Tesla developed, and it's in a structural pack, from what I understand, cell to pack. So meanwhile, the Tesla Model S, which came into the world in 2012 with 18650 cells and like a module style pack. So inside the pack, there's a bunch of modules and things going on in there. It has a energy density of 187 watt hours per kilogram. So, oh, so at the pack level, the old cells, for some reason, are it's more energy dense than the brand new thing, and I don't really understand why that is. So that's super surprising to me. I reached out to engineers at an automaker to confirm that I was interpreting the data properly, and and was. So I'm look a little discombobulated here. I think Kyle needs a link. Martin, if you have it, if you could.
Yeah, I'll send that over to him.
He can't get on the WhatsApp, and I'm not sure where I left my phone.
I live with me.
All right. Right. So this is like a big thing. So I reached out to these engineers that I know, and they confirmed that I was, that's what's going on here. So see, Kyle and Francie discussed the Cybertruck battery on the Out of Spec podcast. So we'll ask him about it when he joins us. But Martin, do you have any thoughts on this at all? Is this like?
Well, yeah, I mean, the main thing is just kind of a lack of understanding, really, on why it's not better. And I don't mean that to be, hey, Carl, and I don't mean that to be any other way apart from I just don't understand how it's not better after all the things that we were promised. And that's fine, because sometimes you might not get the exact spec or the price or the range or something like that. But after so much of being told we're working on next gen technology and it's going to be super great, and okay, so improvements might come down the line, and I understand all of that. Like, one day we may see these things, but Battery Day showed us how the range was going to be better, the price was going to be so much lower, and it's going to enable Tesla to unlock so much. And then what the Cybertruck gets is what we've had since the Model S, which is like, oh, that's okay. So and I'm confused about that. So I'm confused about why it's just not so much better.
Right. So I'm not sure. Kyle, did you catch that first part of the conversation?
No, I'm just logging in now. Good morning.
Good morning. So we were just talking about the specific energy of the Cybertruck pack compared to the Model S pack, and
the 170 watt hour per kilogram number.
That's right.
But does that include the weight of the battery pack because it's structural?
Yes.
And does the Model S's?
Yes.
Are you sure it does?
Well, I mean, I reached out to engineers at another automaker just to confirm that's kind of what I should be looking at. It's the specific energy at the pack level, and that's it's what they said. So I believe I'm using the Tesla numbers that they submitted to the EPA for every vehicle, so they should be congruent, or they should correspond to each other, right?
Yeah, unless they have inherently different pack designs. But yeah, makes sense.
Well, they do have inherently different pack designs.
Yes.
And I don't think this involves any cooling fluids in the pack as well. I think this is like without cooling fluids. But yeah, so it's just kind of curious. I know there's a path forward. I would imagine there's a path forward to further developing this 4680 cell, so it is, can fulfill the promise that they made. But man,
and this is a comment that we had so last week. I know I was tough on Tesla last week because the world was fawning over Tesla. So I thought, well, I'll just be the lone voice of this is a real letdown. And I haven't driven the truck. And there is another outlet, and I won't say who they are because I don't know this person, but they're a very highly respected auto journalist, and they are one of the people who got to drive it. And we know who got to drive it because if you've been following the Cybertruck news, you've seen Top Gear had a video, and MKBHD had and Monroe had a video. There's a few people in the world who got the truck before it was released. And then they made a podcast about the Cybertruck, and they said it's so good. The Cybertruck is so good that if I was working at any other car company, I'd want to hang myself. And I was like, dude, how can you be so, like, you're an auto industry journalist. How can you be so brainwashed that this is the ultimate iteration of personal transport? It's not. It
right.
Blatantly is a massive letdown from what we were promised. And yet when you drive it, they're like, oh my goodness me, this is great and that's great. None of that. Tesla's 10 years ahead of everybody else. Now, firstly, that's a really awful thing to say about everybody else working in the automotive industry who are fantastically competent and intelligent and making wonderful products. And it's the kind of thing that I hate the most about the extreme bit of the Tesla fandom, which is probably not anybody watching this podcast. But it's not only that they love Tesla, and I love Tesla as well. I think they do an amazing job. It's that they love Tesla but hate everything else, and that's like the ultimate kind of football fan, sports fan. Like if you're not on my team, then you must, you it's almost like political levels of you are the enemy, and I couldn't believe that he said that. And it's like, but just look at the numbers, and again, Leonard has a version of of what I'm talking about, which is the part people are forgetting about Battery Day is that the improvements were production capacity and the bottom line, et cetera, et cetera. And I get that, Leonard, and I think you've put that in a really good way. But I would remind you that we're meant to get 54% more range, 56% reduction in the cost per kilowatt hour, and a massive improvements from Tesla's side, and we're not seeing any of those things yet coming through, but that could happen in the future. And I was surprised. I was pretty hard on Tesla last week. It's a pretty strong two-footed tackle, and no one really took me up on it. Everyone kind of went, yeah, he's probably kind of right, which I was surprised about. I wouldn't have minded if you Tesla fans going, this British guy's an idiot, what does he know? And no one, I think one person was like, you totally missed the point of it. And I'm like, wow, that's not much pushback. So that was my take.
Right. Just real quick, David WS says in the comments, Dom, 18659 cells are not old cells. 18650 is just the size of, right. I understand it. Yeah, the 18650 cell that Tesla makes with Panasonic at the Gigafactory in Nevada have actually improved since those early days too. It's not the same chemistry exactly as the original chemistry. So they are better, but I would have expected the 4680 to be better than the previous cell used, because they've gone to the 2170 in the Model 3 and the Model Y, and then the 4680 and the Tesla truck. But the 4680 cells do seem to be good at some things. So I assume they've lowered their cost. That's because they're making them themselves. So that's a vertical vertical supply. So after the show last week, I watched some of the other videos, and besides probably being cheaper, the Haggerty video that Jason Camisa made, they showed the Cybertruck doing the quarter mile racetrack in 11 seconds, consistently, time after time after time, down into 30% battery state of charge, which is like a pretty low state of battery, and they lost me, I think, 2 or 3 tenths of a second at 30% state of charge. So that tells me these batteries, have really good cooling properties, I think, or the pack design. No, you don't think? Kyle's shaking your head.
I don't think drag racing is a good way to measure thermal performance of a system, because you get a hit and then you got to come back and it cools down, and then you get relined up, cools down, then you get another hit.
Right.
Real track use is a good indication of cooling. I can rip on a car that has terrible cooling and do launch after launch after launch. In the case of Rivian, right? We did 100 launches when I did Rivian versus everything. Never had an issue.
Did your times go down?
Not really. No, not majorly.
Okay.
And the thing is, like, that just shows they have more headroom. They could tune it to be faster at higher state of charge. So they're obviously not giving it max performance from the battery standpoint, because if it doesn't slow down as you lose state of charge, then it's not fast enough.
Right.
So, maybe they'll have a Cyber Beast Plus one day. I don't know. I think I'm really excited to drive the truck. I've done nothing but talk about the truck for a whole week, and here we are still talking about the truck that we haven't driven yet. But it's not anyone's fault. It's the people are interested, as am I. But I'm just frustrated that we can't seem to track down a truck to drive and experience
yet. It's only been a week, and there's only like a handful of them out there, right?
Sure, certainly, yeah. But I have seen some California outlets, have friends who take delivery. Jay Leno's friend had one, but also like some other smaller outlets are getting their hands on them. So I gotta find a way to get one.
Right. And like after the show last week, I think I said I was a little bit disappointed in the overall vehicle sort of thing. It's not really, but then after watching the videos, and like, I really want to drive it. I don't necessarily want to own one, but the drive-by-wire steering, it sounds like what they should have done a while ago when they put the yokes in cars. That's the kind of steering system you need for a yoke. The full lock is like 100, just over 180 degrees, right?
Yeah,
187
so it's
degrees,
just
something like
upside
that.
down. So it's as you
Oh,
come
it's-
upside down.
Is that it goes all the way upside down?
Yep, 180 degrees is, flipped upside
Right,
down. So
right.
it's 170.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is what you want for like a yoke system, not a yoke that'll spin around a bunch of times as you're trying to back in or out of
Yeah.
someplace.
I mean, I lived with the yoke on my Model S. I never
Mhm.
thought that was a dangerous situation. It just wasn't a pleasant one.
Right.
So I'm sure the steer by wire will be better. Between the three of us, I'm definitely the Cybertruck fan because I'm in the camp of like, this is the coolest thing ever. I want to drive a giant triangle down the road, and it is the ultimate form of transportation. Like, I'm so into this thing.
Right. And you weren't before, but now you are after all that.
Well, I've kind
last
of
week.
always have been. I just never commented on it before because it did no one any good to comment on a pre-production prototype car that was going to split the divide. But now that it's real, I'm like, hell yeah, I want one in my driveway as soon as possible so we can play around with it. If the charging is going to be as good as the reports say it might be, which is 350 kilowatt, 20 minutes, 15 to 85, then it's instantly a fantastic step above the Rivian in terms of how I use the vehicle, which is towing, hauling, moving stuff around all the time.
Right.
Could be better. So I'm excited.
All right. Greg Pochet mentions, honestly, guys, EA is in the middle of a huge meltdown, and you were talking about the Tesla.
Yeah, this should be on our
Cybertruck.
story list today. My
That's
dad
fine.
just produced a whole video. It just went up on it. We
Right.
should definitely talk about the EA situation.
Yeah.
Is it offline?
We can talk about it now if you want, Dominic.
Yeah. Let's talk
Well,
about
if this is breaking news story,
No, it's
I
not.
saw it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I saw this.
Okay.
This happened yesterday, right? I believe I saw this on your timeline yesterday. I was looking on Twitter at your
Yeah,
timeline.
it started yesterday, mid-morning, something like that. We started getting the rate your charge reports of weird stuff happening. But interestingly, we never got rate your charge reports from in the field having issue. So, of course, EA has been known to have unreliability problems. And so they really haven't set the customer up for a confidence-inspiring experience using their network. However, I would argue there is a major glitch, but they did a really great thing by fixing it, or at least having a workaround. So to me, this is a non-issue. It's actually a positive.
That's right. That's why I didn't put it on the story list, because I didn't really think it was too big a deal.
It's not
really
that big of a deal.
It's worth mentioning, though.
People like to sort of trash on EA, and certainly like we don't enjoy it, but we do when it's deserving.
We don't hold back. No. Yeah.
Here's the thing. EA's app stopped working. Basically, it lost connectivity to the back end. It says, oops, sorry, I can't find any charger. Interestingly, mine actually worked when others weren't. But now here we go. Oops, something unexpected happened. Yeah, please check your internet connection. I don't know. I'm connected to internet, whatever. So that popped up, and then it's like, can't get connected to the back end server. So then you think, oh my goodness, can I use an EA charger? I don't know. And what was interesting was they actually went on Twitter to communicate for the first time in a long time, where EA said, hey, we have an issue, we're working on it. They didn't say the chargers are in free vend and you can go use them, but they said we at least know there's something going on and we'll try and keep you updated. I forget the exact language. And I communicated back. I was like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for using social media. I think in general, EV drivers, we understand problems happen. I can't imagine how or why it's so hard to charge a car. I always say we put a man on the moon in 1963 or whatever it was, but I can't get my electric car to get electricity into it. Like, this is so basic technology. And even knowing the inner workings, like I was just at Charin last week and everyone's like, oh, it's so hard to do this. I'm like, it's really not. Charge the car. Like, this is stupid. So, we can go on about their unreliability issues. So their app broke. They communicated on social media, and they had and their chargers, the entire network defaulted to completely free vend, complimentary charging. So anyone that was on a road trip who showed up to a charger, anyone who just was charging normally, they all plugged in and had a plug and charge experience, and it started without any hustle or fuss or anything. So I'm like, why is this an issue? This is great. They communicated. They didn't necessarily say, like, go to our chargers and get free juice, but they said, we're aware of a problem. We'll keep you updated. The chargers went to free vend. It was zero impact to the EV driver. And in fact, it was a little bit of a perk because they got free charging. And that's exactly how a situation should be handled. If you lose connectivity, the chargers need to charge cars and ready to go. Oh, yeah. So they said the chargers were working to follow prompts on the charger screen. Great. So, there was at least some confidence that you could go to a charger that they communicated. I don't see how this is bad.
I mean, that's perfect. It should fall. It should always fall over to free vend. There's no instance ever that a car charger can't fall over to free vend. That's it. It's all it has to do. And so they have to stump up the cost of the electricity. It's their problem. It should always fall over to free vend.
Yeah, I'm not saying like it was the perfect experience all around. I think stations were probably a bit busy and you couldn't see them. Someone commented, but like you were able to charge, and that's what matters. And ultimately what matters is, if you live, my opinion is if you own an electric car, you should charge it at home or at work. Otherwise, you shouldn't own an electric car. Therefore, you should just use high-powered DC stations for road trips or people when you're in areas that are unfamiliar, or if you need a quick top-up occasionally. And, or if you have an issue where you just bought a car and your home charger is not installed yet or something, there needs to be ways to alleviate pressure on DC charging from the EV driver, because it's almost like people are just relying on that as their main sole form of charging. But either way, forget about all that. EA did the best they could, I think, and really did this right. Now, you guys know I'm the first to go after them when something bad happens, but my impression of this was, sort of A+ work.
Well, the only criticism I have is they didn't put anything on their Facebook page, because not everyone looks at Twitter, and Facebook, is a big thing. They have 9.6 thousand followers on Facebook. They've got 2,300 on Threads, and they didn't post anything. They're only on Twitter. So that's one area that I could,
but at the end of the day, it would, even if those people were going to the charger, it affected them zero. So exactly. In my opinion, they didn't even need to communicate, but they did, which was cool.
Right.
Which is why anyone that was just going to a charger got the charge they needed.
This is why I didn't really put it on the list because of today's stories, because I didn't think, they're doing the right thing. It's not, I don't know if it's a news, but it's worth mentioning that they've got it right.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Totally. I think that's
Martin's showing us a rate your charge.
Oh, he pulled up the worst EA station in the country.
What's this? In Flagler, Colorado? This is close to you?
This is the I-70 diner. Okay, I've been going past this one because it's here in Colorado often. And I now just pretty much pretend it doesn't exist, because there's now ChargePoint 200 kilowatt units on either side of this in about 40 miles in each direction. So I skipped this one. And
What's so bad about this one?
They have two 350 kilowatt, two 150 kilowatt chargers. The two 350s are dead. The one 150 actually, I think, was also dead the other day. And then the other remaining 150 was limited to 50 kilowatts.
Oh.
So there was 150 kilowatt port on this one. This is a notoriously bad EA station.
Okay. Interesting.
But they put canopies over it.
Oh, really? Well, that's something. Are they solar canopies?
Nothing. I want my car to charge. I don't care if I get dry, or at the first job, charge my car. Secondly, make it comfortable.
Right. All right. Let's get back to just a little bit more Cybertruck. Sorry, people who are not big Cybertruck fans. I understand. But we need to talk about this. So I just want to say that you and Francie talked about this on the podcast, and so you don't really know what's going on with that battery situation, the energy density thing. But you do have a couple interesting podcasts or episodes of the Out of Spec podcast covering the steering system and also your whole Cybertruck delivery experience. As Martin just brought us up here, if you want to get a look inside the Gigafactory in Austin and see your experience through your eyes, that is up as well. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, that Tesla has invited early reservation holders to order the Foundation series of Cybertruck. That adds about $20,000 to the price of an all-wheel drive or Cyber Beast. Basically, it's a fully optioned truck with special badging, premium accessories, charging equipment with PowerShare, home backup hardware, FSD beta is included, and even more. That I think you get the light bar option as well installed. So the Cybertruck has this light bar option at the top of the windshield, believe it's built inside, or it's integrated somehow into the thing. So it looks pretty cool, I think. Yeah. So I don't know. I was wondering if Tom got one of those invitations, but I guess we'll have to wait to find out. Yeah. So right.
That makes sense. That makes sense. There'll be people with 120k to drop that want to get this in their driveway. That makes perfect sense. You've got to prioritize the expensive ones. They always have done. All car companies do. That makes sense to me.
Right. 20,000, and I believe they said the so the all-wheel drive deliveries are happening now. Basically, I'm not sure if there's like a few days or a week or whatever delay from the Cybertruck delivery event to actual more trucks being rolled out to customers, but they should be happening anytime. And then the Cyber Beast, they say early 2024 is when those first deliveries will happen. Yeah. So I think that's just about all the Cybertruck for today. Yeah.
What a shame. Bye-bye.
There'll be more. For one
Don't
worry, Martin.
All I want to do is hear from real people like Kyle or real owners who drive it, rather than reviewers who were given the vehicle a week before. And we all know how that plays out. Like, if you were one of the 3 or 4 outlets that were given this vehicle a week up front, and this, one person who I mentioned before had it, I think, for 3 days, you're not going to get an unbiased review. No. I mean, Top Gear are big, but Top Gear need Tesla.
What do you mean by that? Because like that's sort of industry standard.
Yeah, so that's industry standard. Is you're not going to get an unbiased review if you are one of the chosen few in Tesla's little club to get that vehicle. So I watched them all, and they were all fawning, and it's wonderful, and it's great, and there was no downsides.
So I'm like, maybe it's just that good, Martin.
Mate, what a waste of my time. Let's get some real people driving the vehicle, like yourself, some real owners, and tell me what the thing and tell me what it's like, the good and the bad. I even had to smile, even like Clean Technica, which is a great website, and they're not in Tesla's pocket. And they were like, here's 10 terrible things about the Cybertruck, but here's 11 things we love. And I'm like, everyone's terrified of just annoying Tesla because they'll get, I don't know, cut off from the good juice or something. And it's like,
I don't think Clean Technica gets anything from
Tesla. I don't think get any good juice from Tesla.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, just right. Here's 10 great things. Here's 10, or here's 5 great things, and here's 1 thing
I think it's just them trying to be balanced. I don't know. I have a different view. I'm normally the cynical one. What's going on here?
I know. I don't know what's totally
different. Maybe you're in a bad mood today or something, because I'm just like so excited about this, and I thought the reviews were great, and they chose fantastic outlets to launch the truck with. Jason's not been a Tesla fan. I don't want to argue about his review, but like I don't. He's not been traditionally a Tesla fan. He literally trashed the Model S Plaid in his Lucid review, and here he is. If he's saying the Cybertruck is that good, at least in the 3-day drive that he had, it left him with an impression, my opinion of Jason, that it's that good.
Right.
Maybe I've been broken by modern media, and when everyone says it's that good, maybe it's just that good. Maybe it's just exceptional.
I mean, there's been a really polarized reception to it. It's very polarized. You have a lot of lovers and a lot of haters. There's not a whole lot in the middle.
Yeah, but that's a lot of people hate it because it's cool to hate it. Like there's a subculture of because of what Elon's done with Twitter and politics, and and his move to the right, and all that kind of stuff. There's now a subculture where it's cool to hate Elon, it's cool to hate Tesla, and there was always that kind of thing where it was cool to hate electric cars, or you could score some points on social media by bashing Elon. But there now is a much larger groundswell of people who, I wonder if they just say stuff to say the right thing in front of their followers, because they're like, yeah, look at that, it looks like a cheese grater, yeah, load of rubbish. And you're like, well, you're not really saying anything interesting. It's just you're bashing it for the sake of bashing it. So I'd ignore those people.
Well, I think the general audience agrees with you, Martin, which is let's hate car reviewers, let's not trust anything anyone says, and and it sucks. And that's the batteries included audience, and that's fine. Again, that's fine. Once we get our hands on it, we'll get some actual data, and then we'll present the data, and everyone can make up their mind. My impression after watching everything, and I also know the people reviewing them, like I know what they're into. They're like awesome people who are genuine car enthusiasts who these are the people I would pick to review a product and base a purchasing decision off of it if it were me. So, maybe I just know them, and so I have a different view, but also like I don't know. I think they were done well. I think the truck's epic based off everything. But of course, we'll play around with it when we get it. There's not much I don't like about it, and that's just me. I think it's all pretty cool.
I like the Top Gear team. I like this is not obviously like Top Gear magazine editorial print and Top Gear TV show. They're entirely different beasts that share the same name, a different ownership, different product. I subscribe to Top Gear magazine. I love their writers. They're all incredible. And the videos they make are brilliant. But like at one point they opened the frunk and they pushed the button up and they went, "Whoa, amazing." And I'm like, are you guys, whoa, look at this. Like you've opened
the front is not that amazing. Cybertruck front. That's not
you've opened a bonnet or a boot before, I presume, in your life. Like at no point did I ever go, "Whoa, this thing opens." And I'm like, you are, I don't know, were there minders, were there heavies, were there people being like, "At any time we'll take this vehicle away from you if you don't say nice things"? Because they were like, "Whoa, the front opens." And I'm like, what is this?
I think Marquez was a little bit, had a few, things to say that he didn't like, had a few criticisms. I'm not sure, it's been a while. It's been a week since I watched his video, so I don't remember exactly what he had to say. But I did get the impression there's a few things with it, like the steering, the driver wire. It might be a little bit too sensitive for in this city. It might need to be dialed back a bit, but it's all software based, so that's going to be really easy if they find that people find it just a bit too twitchy in the city. A little bit. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Somebody get out of spec as soon as possible, please.
Okay, but let's move on anyway because we got lots to talk about. All right, so Kyle, right after we recorded your segment last week for the podcast, you flew to Ohio to get reunited with your Rivian R1T and pick up a couple antique electric vehicles. Now, we'd like to hear a little bit about the Comuta-Cars. And I don't know if you can bring up one of those Twitter links, Martin, but first, I understand the trip from Ohio to Colorado had you dreaming of the coming Ram Rev plug-in hybrid. So maybe, tell us about what happened.
Well, should we talk about the Comuta-Cars first?
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the cars, yeah.
Okay,
first, so what we got going on here.
These are two of the finest pieces of engineering known to man.
Right.
And they are 1980 Comuta-Cars. I don't really know much about them. I did when I bought them 6 months ago.
Okay.
But I can
tell you a few things about them.
I bought them. I messaged a friend and I said, "Hey, would you mind going to go pick them up?" And he has his own shop. He's like an auto guy, a Cannonball friend of mine. He has his own shop in Ohio, and they were in Ohio. They were like an hour and a half away. So I'm like, "Hey, would you mind just going to pick these up? Well, pick one up." I think the green one first. And then, could you just hold on to it for me for a little bit? And then he said, "Kyle, there was like a red one there as well." So after he got back, like the next day I messaged the person I bought the green one from. And I was like, "Hey, what's up with the other one?" And they're like, "Oh, that's also for sale." I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me?" So then he had to go back again and get the red one and bring that down. So now we got two of these. Excuse me. I'm just recovering from being sick. Right. And so I got two Comuta-Cars. The red one's actually the nicest one. It has a sunroof and some other things.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if the sunroof was ever factory, but they have like Department of Defense stickers on them, like parking passes and stuff. So I'm not sure if they were government owned back then or if someone who had them worked at the government, but basically, they're really cool. So I think we're going to try and restore one back to original and then upgrade the other one, and we'll save that for a series at some point.
What do you mean upgrade? What's going on?
How about I give you the old specs and see how they compare to the new one?
Yeah, I don't even know what the old specs are. Let me know.
Okay, so it's obviously a DC motor. It's got lead acid batteries. It came with lead acid batteries, 48 volts. Had a range of 40 miles if you went slow enough, and a top speed of 45 miles an hour, I believe it is. It's a 63-inch wheelbase, and it weighs 1,300 pounds. Originally, it has 5 horsepower. Originally, it was $5,000 to buy brand new in 1980. And they were made in Sebring, Florida. And before that, they were called City Car, and then they got bought out and they renamed Comuta-Car. and yeah, they're like mini Cybertrucks.
Right. Well, the joke was I loved the Cybertruck so much I bought 2 of them.
Right. Or Cheese Louise. Actually, so yeah, what's the lady's name who bought one a couple years ago? And
Yes, Simone.
Simone, right? Yeah, she's great. What's her first name?
Yeah, Simone's her first name.
Oh,
isn't
okay.
it?
But Simone G, whatever. She nicknamed her Cheese Louise, and it's yeah. I think it was at the first Holly EV event that we talked about a couple of years ago.
Yep, that's where I saw one, I think for the first time, was
Okay.
that car, her car.
Okay.
And then I was like, I got to get one of these one day and put a, P100D drivetrain in this thing. And now Plaid's out.
So would you put a P100D? That would probably tear it apart, wouldn't it?
I think even a base Model 3 motor would tear it apart. You should see the connection points on this thing. It's not great. But we have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to release the plan because the plan is pretty ambitious.
Okay.
But we're going to try and make one rip.
It's going to need a whole roll cage, a whole interior.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to be able to bolt stuff to something that's not going to, fold
Yeah, the
up like
chassis is not probably.
It's like a sardine can, basically.
I was honestly worried strapping them down to the trailer that I was gonna twist the chassis.
Oh no. All right. So you flew to Florida. You picked up these 2 adorable baby cheese wedges, and then you have to drive them back to Colorado. That's what, 1,000 or so miles?
1,352 miles.
To be precise.
Yeah, that's without the diversions for charging.
So, right. So it didn't go that well then, I guess. It took a while.
Yeah, honestly, not really anything major due to the infrastructure. I had one site, one EA stop that was bad, which like that's a pretty good improvement. Also, driving the truck out to the East Coast was nearly flawless. And we have I think we have a whole video on that. We'll get into that in a moment. But the drive back towing was, so first of all, I had the cheese wedges arranged inefficiently, nose to nose rather than tail to tail. And it just had to do with the ease of loading them on, where we, basically backed my trailer up to his and just drove them straight across based on how he had them lined up. But because they don't run, we couldn't really drive them up the ramp onto the trailer. And we probably could have, found a way to maneuver it, but it was just the 2 of us. And these things are not that heavy, but our ramps, we just were like, all right, whatever. Let's not take the time to try and rearrange all the cars. So
you had to push them up the ramps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 1,300 pounds on.
So it was just easier to go pretty much level trailer to trailer. And then we put a ramp in between the trailers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So driving out, I would say pretty good charging experience. Actually, in Ohio and in the Midwest in general, there are so many EVGo stations now.
Oh,
like
that's
a
nice.
bunch. And a lot of them are Pilot Flying J's with like canopies or pull throughs. Not all of them are pull through, but I hit a couple PFJ sites and a lot of them are under construction. I'd be driving and I'm like, oh, where I really want a charger is right here. And then you'd look and it's a Pilot Flying J site coming soon. I'm like, this is great. They're also like almost 60 cents a kilowatt hour, those Pilot Flying J DC fast charging sites.
Right.
Very expensive.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Should I mention that now then?
Sure.
Okay, so as you're saying, while you were coming home, so Pilot Flying J put out a press release heralding the opening of the first charging stations of its cross-country network that it's put together with Ultium. GM is,
but I feel like that's such a
partner in that.
delayed thing because these sites have been up for months.
Right, but they just put out the press release like this week, so I didn't even know. I've been wondering what's the progress report on this thing because they announced it like I don't know, more than a year ago. It seems like it's been forever, and there hasn't really been anything going on. Then all of a sudden, this press release comes out, and there's wow, there's like as Martin just pulled it up on our screen there. If you're watching us on radio, we're looking at a picture of looks like a traditional gas station. It's got pumps in the middle, like a pull-through sort of situation. Overhead canopy, well lit. There's branding, Flying J branding on one side. GM Ultium, GM Energy. Actually, it says on that one. I thought they do say Ultium somewhere for whatever reason. They have GM Energy on that. So I just assumed, these all kind of just came online in the last couple of weeks. But you were saying they've been up for a while, and Francie has even driven on like maybe all of them. There's
Well, no, but she did a road trip pretty much exclusively using PFJ.
okay. Right.
So that video's coming at some point soon too. But it's quite expensive. Not every site has a canopy. In fact, I don't think I have been to a site with a canopy yet.
Okay. So this is the shot that they did show. It's the one that has got a
And
canopy, but that's not necessarily representative of what people are going to experience out there in the wild. At this
Yeah,
point.
they had to build one for this photo. And then is how it normally goes. Just like the
Right.
Mercedes charging network, beautiful canopy. And then
Mhm.
as I was leaving the event, they're like, the next ones aren't going to have a canopy. I'm like, what? That's what I thought we were here to film.
Right.
So
And-
I'm just annoyed with this. Why is it? It's quite expensive to do canopies, but like,
Yeah,
it's so nice.
it
It's
is.
so nice.
I mean, and well, they should have solar on those just because they should.
But the solar is quite expensive to integrate, and
Mhm.
it does zero for helping with the charging.
Yeah.
Yeah, zero.
If they want to do that, they should buy a plot of land.
Yeah, they need
nearby.
like a field
Sure.
full of solar.
Yeah,
Well,
like
sure,
a field
sure.
of solar. But
I mean, but
but
it's
it's
just a
still
bit of real
yeah.
estate, you know.
I guess so. But
It's just
can't-
costs. I would say skip the solar unless there's incentives, and just put up a canopy with some lights.
I use stuff like this every time I can, and I don't care what the cost is because I don't road trip that much. And so if there's a price premium to pay, it's fine because I'm not price shopping to save 5 pence and 6 pence per kilowatt hour. I want this to be easy and I want it to be nice. And there's a few sites I use all the time with canopies, and refreshments, clean toilet, decent coffee, and a canopy. And that's all I want. Is I just want to feel like I'm not going out the back of Beyond or some little piece of a car park that they could just get cheap. And then you're like, oh man, this just feels like I'm such a third class. It's first world problems, but I'm such a third class citizen here. Like no one cares about the EV driver. These are brilliant. Absolutely love this.
So I'm just responding to John here in the comments. He has some insider connections with Flying J.
Oh,
Yeah. Cool.
That's cool. I'd love to find out more.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I
Right.
think also Francie's pretty familiar with that project, and EVGo probably can come on to talk about it as well. So
Right. Actually, yeah, that's true. That's true.
yep. So we can always have them on. But anyway, I used those a few times. Francie did, we'll have a video coming either on the Out of Spec podcast or Motoring. I don't know how she's going to edit it all together, but should be interesting to see how that all goes. She stopped at the canopied sites. I did not see any of those when I was driving. But yeah, back to the road trip, I guess. We were, driving the Rivian. The infrastructure was not really the problem. Couple sites obviously weren't perfect for trailer friendliness, which is not unusual. Had to unhook a couple times and pull the truck over, charge it, and then rehook up the trailer. But this was the issue.
I just pulled up the screen. So the screenshot is screenshot of your display on the Rivian, and things look kind of warm.
Yeah, that's after a charging session, so it's not entirely fair to the truck, and it's not unusual. But the point is, the Rivian thermal management system elongates the road trip time significantly. And so, once I was, using the truck and it was ripping and, charging, driving, I would just kind of just sit at 100 kilowatt charging. And I'm like, come on. So you get a big peak, 212 kilowatts, 215. And then, as soon as the battery pack maximum limit hits 55C, it just comes on a floor and settles down and slows down. It's even beyond that. It's the fact that it has, the way I had it set up with my truck, like the efficiency was terrible. The charging time was very long. And it worked out to where, especially as I was climbing through Kansas back up to Colorado with a headwind, which is a very normal situation for what we experience, it was 1% for 1 mile. And that's 125 kilowatt hour battery pack. So I'm averaging like 0.75 miles per kilowatt hour. And that's just going 60 to 65 miles an hour. Like I'm going as slow as I can without getting run over by trucks. Right. And then, it takes me an hour to drive an hour.
Yeah, right.
An hour of charging to drive 1 hour. So my trip has not only doubled, I'm also driving slower than a combustion vehicle, and it's costing me way more money.
Wow. Yeah,
so I had a one charging session that was over $100.
Ooh.
Wow.
It's not cheap to do this. So
Yeah.
it's like, why would I ever? I mean, yeah, I did it for a video, and maybe I'm a little bit more annoyed because my iPhone actually broke during this trip.
Was it
and
this
had
trip?
some-
I want to know. I want to know more about the iPhone. To be honest,
Yeah,
so
sure.
it was this trip that it finally said, "I give up."
So, okay, yep. So basically, when I was in LA a few weeks ago, I was driving the BMW M3 combustion car, and I
Mhm.
kept using the wireless charger. Okay.
Right.
And I have no idea if that's correlated. I know now, after posting this on Twitter, that
It's camera
BMW.
correlated.
Well, yeah, I know at least now,
Just
according
kidding.
to the Twitter viewers, Twitter responders, that BMW has a history of frying iPhones, but I think it's just the NFC chip, and my NFC chip works fine. So I'm guessing it's unrelated. But something happened on November 16th where that was the last day this phone backed up. And I didn't realize I have automatic iCloud backups on,
Yeah.
even over cellular, so that whenever I take a photo or a video, boom, it gets up to the cloud however it needs. So I have unlimited data. That should be great. So I, went around and I ended up plugging my phone into the computer a couple times to try and transfer data over USB-C with the high connection. I have one of those fast cables just to get the workflow done. And it kept saying my phone was starting up in DFU mode and it couldn't read it. I didn't know what that meant, but I thought maybe my MacBook needed an update. So I would just airdrop everything over to my computer. Yeah. And that worked fine. Everything looked, the phone was responsive. It was great. And then I woke up one morning in Kansas City on the drive back, and my phone turned on, the screen turned on, but there was no touch response and no communication response out of the port. So I actually thought the screen was broken. And so I woke up early. I'm like, I'm going to start the road trip. I'm getting home today. I'm only 9 hours away. But I decided, okay, I got to film this video. I also live online. So I'm like, let me at least wait till the Apple store opens, see if they can pop a new screen or at least see what's going on. And then I'll be on my way. And they put a new screen on it. The Apple store folks, some of them batteries included viewers. It was great to see all of them. They basically tried everything they could to get the phone working. And they're like, nope, it's a processor malfunction. So, basically I was without a phone and it delayed me almost a day on the trip. That's my fault for stopping there instead of getting home. And then I went to Apple Store the other day in Boulder, now that I'm back, and they basically said, we've seen this happen a few times and there's nothing we can do. We have to wipe your phone and it will work perfectly after a restore.
Oh.
So it's just a software glitch.
The hardware's not fried.
Hardware is not
fine.
Oh,
man. That hurts even more.
Yeah. So then, there's, because you can't get the data out. You can't control the phone. We tried plugging in mouses, computers, anything to try and unlock the phone. I could have sent it off for probably data repair, but based off of what everyone was telling me, is it would be a few $1,000s and a few months. And I'm like, would I even post the videos a few months from now? No. And the answer is probably not. So I just was like, buying another phone, and I'm like, I'm going to ship this one out. And then I finally just as I was walking out the store, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Just wipe it. And so we lost about 3 weeks worth of videos on this thing. So whatever mode my phone went into stopped it from updating. That's why you don't see many out of spec reviews videos this week, because I just am back with a camera and we lost a lot of the awesome videos. We had some cool stuff that I wanted to share and do, but unfortunately they won't make it on the air. But if these are the worst of our problems, we're doing okay.
Yeah, so, but man, I have seen that BMW frying iPhone thing. I wonder whether that's an internet conspiracy theory, but I have seen those stories fly around. But it doesn't sound like with yours. It doesn't sound like that's what it was.
No, because the phone works totally fine.
Yeah, it wasn't that then.
No. It is just a coincidental thing that whatever caused this to go into DFU mode, whatever that means, means it also
make something up.
It means it stopped backing up to iCloud without telling me.
Wow. I mean, it kind of gradually got worse, and then oh man, three weeks of work gone. That stings.
Before we go forward, can we just go back just 1 sec and answer a question for Jared? He's just wondering if one of those cheese wedge cars was in Morrow, Ohio.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So we know. Sorry, Jared. I tried to get it for you, but oh well.
All right. Morrow, Ohio. Ooh. I don't know.
I'm not sure what part of Ohio do you think where you went around?
I thought it was north of Columbus, like Mansfield or something like that.
Okay.
So that's my understanding.
Right. And I guess DFU might be device firmware update, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it basically allows you to, like, if you want to go back on software or forward on software, you can lock it in this mode, wipe the phone with new software, and you're good to go.
And then you had, you're right. Something weird is in the water. We've swapped places because normally if you had a terrible charging experience, you'd say this is rubbish. And you've said it's less than stellar, which is kind of what management consultants like. Don't say someone's performance was bad. Tell that person that their performance was less than stellar. So there's something weird going on, man. You've lost 3 weeks of work and you're in the best mood ever. I don't know what's going on here. I'm freaked out.
well, maybe it's because he heard about this little next piece of news.
Okay.
So it seems like Rivian is introducing a new battery pack design next year. So that's in addition to a smaller standard battery pack coming next year as well. It's a little bit confusing situation. I almost feel like we need to get somebody from Rivian on to kind of explain what the heck's going on here. But Chief Financial Officer Claire McDonough spilled the beans at the automotive conference at Barclays was held just recently. So there's probably more details coming, but according to McDonough, this new pack will have 60% fewer electronics, 25% less wiring harness, and it takes out thousands of dollars of cost out of the pack. So it sounds like a really good thing just for Rivian from a business standpoint. So they're planning on shutting down production for several weeks, and then when they come back, go through a production ramp up slowly to squash any bugs, and then ensure the quality is good. Both lines are going to be down. Both the EDV, like the delivery vans, that line's going to go down too, but that'll be up and producing fairly soon afterwards. So they're introducing this new battery pack, and they're also going to a different network architecture inside the vehicles as well. And this is something that's going to be this. So the new modal zoned architecture, they call it a zoned. I'm not exactly sure, so I'd like to get some more details on that part as well. But previously, the network it had all kinds of processors on different channels, all over the vehicle talking to each other. So this simplifies everything. But we don't have a lot of detail. But it's laying the foundation for their systems going forward. So it's kind of a big deal. And and this new battery pack, I'm not sure if it's going to. Hopefully, it'll do something for the cooling. I'm not sure. That's basically where the issue is, right? In the battery pack design.
Cooling and also just charging performance. When you look at Taycan, which came out in 2019, I always use it as the benchmark because it's old now, and it charges at over 200 kilowatts at 70%, and my truck's doing like 70. It's like, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Porsche did a pretty good job on their engineering.
They figured out how to make that thing charge. Now it sounds like maybe some of the early ones have issues Taycan wise. So there's some recall or something. I got to look into it.
Right. So you haven't heard anything about this new Rivian pack yourself yet, have you?
Yeah, everything you mentioned I had heard, but I'm not getting too excited again until it makes its way into a truck. I will have a dual motor max pack Rivian to test soon. Everyone's been asking for it, and Rivian called me yesterday and said, we're sending one out your way. So great, finally. So what I need to find is a large pack dual motor on 21-inch road wheels to compare it to.
Okay. Yeah.
The 21-inch large pack on dual motors to compare. Okay. So if anyone,
I want two identically spec trucks.
Well, since the Rivian now outsells the Tesla Model 3 in Colorado, it's the new Colorado Camry, I believe you called it. It shouldn't be that hard to find one, right?
Yeah, that's R1S. I'm going to get a T. So the T is actually more efficient than the S.
Really?
Yeah. And every test we've done, and according to their range, and according to EPA filings, it's slightly more efficient. So
okay, I was thinking, I forgot about the tonneau cover.
I don't think,
because with that tonneau cover, it'll definitely take an aerodynamic hit.
We've done that test. We didn't see that big of a change.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I need to look that up. I'm kind of curious now.
But I hope that the one that I'm getting has at least the manual tonneau. So for the range test, I can try and pick whatever best day we have and say, this is the max range in our test you can get in a Rivian.
Right. That sounds pretty good. All right. Yeah. So I'm not. There's a bunch of news in that interview with Claire McDonough. It's but things are looking kind of good, or at least listen to the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the company, talk about the developments. It was very corporate speak. It was very dense language to listen to and to understand. But it did sound like once they go through this whole shutdown, 3-week shutdown, the other side of that, things are going to be looking pretty good. They expect to get profitability, I believe, next year, which is kind of a big deal. That's very fast.
I have to say, when I use my truck around town and don't do any towing with it, I love it. Best vehicle I've ever owned. Still, it's an amazing product. And
Right.
I just, pulled up at the stoplights next to an Audi RS5 yesterday, and it had temp tags. And I'm like, okay, this guy just bought an RS5. He's going to rip it. So I hit it in sport mode. We start out, and then I just hear him, whoop! And I even gave him a head start, and then just wham, smoked him. And I'm like, this is hilarious. I'm on studded winter tires and just wiped to the floor of this high performance Audi. And then it's uber comfortable. I can go back into squish mode and it rides just as nice as an S-Class. And I can, I've been hauling wheels and tires around in it, doing winter tire swaps. And it's so useful, and it's such a great looking truck and performing truck and high quality. So don't get my negative posts in the last week about Rivian wrong. I still love my truck. I just will never tow with it on a road trip ever again. And I'm going to get a diesel.
Or a Ram Rev.
Yeah, that would work pretty well.
I mean,
But
Ram Rev sounds pretty promising, man.
That, and it could actually even be a smaller battery. I'm like, what I think would work for a truck is give me 40 kilowatt hours, and then a pretty, just a turbo 4-cylinder engine, or whatever they do, an NA V6, or is it a turbo V6?
I think they had a V6.
It's a V6 in the Rev, yeah.
Yeah, but is it a turbo? Is it the Hurricane motor?
That I cannot say off the top
Well, I
of my
guess we'll
head.
wait to see. It doesn't totally matter. But the whole idea for basically the whole time I had my Rivian, because we hadn't really, the problems were the charging, the range, the efficiency.
Ram charger. I'm calling it the wrong thing. I'm saying Ram Rev. It's a Ram charger. Thanks,
charger,
Greg.
that's right.
Oh my God, I keep doing that.
Yeah, it's got a huge battery. It's I think it's
80 kilowatt hours.
Is that you? Yeah, it's 80
Greg.
It's crazy. And so, and it's a Pentastar 3.6 liter. Okay, so that's just a motor
That's right.
Yeah, we'll just kind of sit wide open whenever. It doesn't matter. Those things are okay.
You think they put it on an Atkinson cycle though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If the motor can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that Ram charger idea. I wish more people would go for it. I want to see sort of an F250 or an F350 with a diesel electric setup, like a train. And this is kind of like a train.
A series hybrid.
Yeah.
It becomes expensive because you got a diesel powertrain, which is more expensive than gasoline, right? And then you also got the expensive electric powertrain. So from a cost perspective,
but from an efficiency perspective, diesels love just sitting wide open. They last forever. And if you can get them in their peak operating range, it should be more efficient than a combustion engine just sitting 6,000 RPM the whole time.
I mean, wouldn't the torque part be, because they make all the torque low end, right? The diesels.
Yeah,
so wouldn't it be better?
2,200 RPM, something like that.
Yeah, maybe a lower RPM might be more efficient. I don't know.
Well, that's why they use diesels also for longevity in a lot of bigger applications. So yeah, I think that to me solves a lot of the problem, because I've met a lot of people on the road trip in middle America towing with an electric truck,
right?
And you meet farmers, you meet local industrial workers that are not familiar with EV, and they come up to me and they're like, what's it? And they are so when you talk to people in real life, it's not like talking to people on the internet. They are genuinely curious. I've never had a bad experience talking to anyone with an electric vehicle, and they just want to learn. They're like, what's it like with you driving this thing around? And I have to say, I drive an electric car every day at home, is what I tell them, and around town. When I take that car on a road trip from Colorado to Los Angeles, I don't even think about it. It's no problem. That issue has been solved. As soon as you start putting a lot of weight and a lot of size and a lot of drag on your vehicle, and then you have to recharge all that inefficiencies. This is the next level of innovation that needs to come. And yeah, a lot of them are familiar with this RAM charger concept. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of seems perfect, because the worst part about this trip is me, literally extending my time by 2 and my costs by 50% higher to bring this trailer back than what it was to bring it out with a combustion vehicle.
Yeah. One of our viewers, Nathan Green, says he has a RAM charger reservation. So awesome. Hopefully you can share some of your experience with us, Nathan, when that all happens. I'm not sure. Do we know when that comes? That's coming next year, though, right? Probably later in the year.
Yeah, not 100% sure. Haven't really heard much other than what everyone else has heard.
Right. Oh, it's the no. I was thinking it's the actual charger, the electric Dodge Charger. I believe that's coming the end of next year.
Yeah,
for sure. That's the one I know for sure because I saw that yesterday.
Okay.
It's in their Christmas. I don't know, little Christmas video that they put out. Right.
Whoa! Big news and a super chat from Mark. Volkswagen is sending out an over-the-air software update. Whoa!
Early 2021 ID4
That's
owners.
right. So that's like first edition ID4 stuff. Finally getting some stuff.
Right. Is that your first one, Mark?
It's got to be.
Yeah, I don't recall hearing about the early ones getting OTAs.
I thought the early ones had to go to a dealer to get them on software 3.1, and then they can support OTA.
Right.
So I think that's the track. If you didn't bring your car into a dealer, you're probably not getting the over-the-air update, would be my guess. Yes, he confirmed. Great.
Right.
And it's to enable, partly for the big battery, to start to enable people to do more funky stuff with their batteries. Although you can't buy anything in the US off the shelf that you put on the side of your house and do it immediately. You can if you live in Germany, but you can't in the US right now. But I think that's all to get ready for, at least to get you onto version 3.5, at least, I think.
Yeah, 24 is the year of the start of integration of electric cars and homes, other vehicles, load devices, V to X, if you will. And so we're going to start seeing a lot of work being done between the utilities and the automakers, between the utilities and charging providers to enable the start of what could be an interconnected web of vehicles and infrastructure.
So Mark confirms V2G is with software 3.5, and this press release was when? This was the 6th of December, so that was 2 days ago.
Right.
So yeah, and this is a worldwide press release, but I think it's all to do with this, Mark, is to get you ready for not V2G, V2H, when they finally announce who their partners are in North America.
Right. That's pretty big news, actually. I totally missed that news. Was it Wednesday? It came out? I didn't hear about it.
Yes and no. Yes, I think it's cool because I want it to work. So it's a year and a half late because it's meant to come last summer. And it's available in Germany now with one partner. But the way it works is you've got to have their home battery system. I think they're called Hager or Hager, one of those variants. And you've got to have their home battery. And when your home battery runs down, it'll then take DC to DC from the car, recharge your battery, and then the battery powers the home. So that's not quite what everyone thinks is being promised and / delivered here. It's really cool. Don't get me wrong. I wish I could get that, but it's not quite, plug your car in, your house magically works. It's not a sort of an AC out or anything, but it's a good first step, and it's VW doing it, and they're huge, and it's mega, and it's brilliant. So well done, VW.
Right. And this is kind of like something like similar to what Tom has installed in his house with the Ford Lightning Pro home power to home, right? Basically.
Except they launched that with Sunrun ready to go. Here's the hardware, it's all, and you can do it right now. And it's like, well, we're doing the software update, and maybe one day we'll know who's selling that. Look, I know it's fabulously complicated. What is it? ISO 15118-2, the whole protocol of getting DC out of the car and into your house.
Oh, that'll be -20.
Oh, okay, right. So I know it's difficult to do. I don't want to be hard on these companies, but they did make promises a while ago that said it would be ready. I think version 3.1 was meant to have it all ready to go, and then they're like, a little bit later.
Yeah, but actually, we'll be able to talk about this. Maybe we should even do a midweek episode on it. But Francie is at the BMW tech offices in California, discussing 2 full days of basically this, of how BMW wants to integrate, how they're working on it. They have this ChargeScape thing that is like an intermediary between automakers and the utility company so that they can expand their coverage and have their own little virtual network. I don't know much about it. That's just kind of the cryptic messages I got back, but it seems like everyone's interested in making this work. It's just our infrastructure is so complicated and our utility structure is so complicated that it's never just going to all work at once everywhere.
Right. So Ford has it now. VW is getting it. Tesla is just starting it now with the Cybertruck. They have that, I forget what they call, power share system in Cybertruck, and probably new vehicles coming forward. So this, okay, I've got this other news story I would like to talk about because I think this is kind of a big deal. So I think this actually broke slightly more than a week ago, but we didn't talk about it last week. So I want to talk about it now for sure. So let's talk batteries. So our Next Energy, or using their acronym ONE, our Next Energy, is a battery company, U.S. battery maker, and they just put out a hybrid pack called Gemini, and they stuck it in a BMW iX and got 608 WLT miles out of it. They run it on a dynamometer, hooked up, so it simulated the WLTP test cycle. 608 miles. So in real world conditions, that's likely to get over 500 miles of range. And it's a big increase because the new pack is big. It's over 185 kilowatt hours. So that's a lot of kilowatt hour, but it still fits in the same space as a stock battery. So the secret sauce of this pack is, well, not exactly secret. So it's a hybrid battery. So basically there are two different chemistries involved. There's an LFP portion that powers the motor and is big enough to cover 150 miles. And the other part of the pack uses high energy, dense anode-free cells. Sorry, they use a different kind of cells. So they're really super high energy dense and they have no anode. And they connect to the LFP cells through DC to DC converters. And that adds the other 450 miles. And they kind of work in concert. I don't know if you can show, Martin, there's a bit of video down there, a link to it, or maybe it's up here too. You can see there's a picture of the pack. Yeah, that video is great. But they'll show us a picture of the pack, and it almost looks like a piano. Like they have the cells. The blue ones, I believe, are the LFP cells, and the yellow ones are this new anode-free cell. So let me just catch up with myself here. So they
really laid it out like that. That's really interesting.
I know, it's like not at all like I expected. Yeah, it's very.
These are probably the DC-DC convert, and then
they are.
These would be sort of the bus bars between them, and then I don't know. I need to find out more about that, but that looks interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Francie also just interviewed the guy who did all this, or at least
wow. Guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
maybe we should.
They're there together, I guess.
Okay. Cool. So. According to ONE, that's the name of the company, Gemini contains 0 cobalt, reduces lithium by 20%, nickel by 75%, and graphite by 60%. And that's potentially super important given that China, which produces and refines the vast majority of graphite in the world, just placed export controls on graphite last week. And so the graphite market is kind of in a bit of a stir right now. There's a lot of momentum in the U.S. to build our graphite processing and creating capacity, because there's natural graphite and there's also artificial graphite. There's a plant going up, being constructed maybe 30 miles or so from me, and maybe we'll go take a look at that sometime soon. So yeah, it has 60% less graphite, so that's great. The mineral that Gemini does use a lot of is manganese for its cathode, and it also uses aluminum and copper foil like other lithium batteries. So our Next Energy appears very forthcoming with its data. It says the Gemini pack has a gravimetric density of 260 watt hours per kilogram. So that's just below 280 kilowatt hours per kilogram that some of the better lithium cells do. But this is at the pack level. So if we compare that to the earlier numbers we were looking at for like Cybertruck and Model S, which have great, actually, industry. They're big numbers for the industry. I got to check what they are with the Lucid Air. Maybe might be better. It's very similar. But anyway, this is at least a third better, right? 500 miles of range.
I'm going to drive that iX that they did.
Right. I mean, it's probably in Michigan, and I don't know if
I think it's at the place that they're doing part of BMW's presentation, because I think they have a partnership.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's why Francie's there to learn about their future tech, and this is a portion of that program.
Oh, that's super interesting. Actually, it's all coming together for me now. Sorry, a little slow on the update, Kyle. So this is potentially a huge deal. Right now, they're preparing to move the tech. They got to do more commercialization before they can start implementing it into vehicles. But it looks like BMW might be one of the first ones. But this is a huge step change in battery density if they can get this all to work out properly, and it really looks promising. Like, this just kind of takes us a huge step forward, I think, in reducing battery pack.
Weren't these the guys as well that made like a Model S do a huge range number? Do you remember that project? Martin, could you Google one Model S, one battery Model S or something like that? Because I'm pretty sure they had another demonstration. They did an i3 and then a Model S, and now this iX. Those are the three I think I'm familiar with. Yeah, someone said they are, yes. So they've been doing these sort of one-off vehicles as showcases, and I've been meaning to get with them. I think we have had some communication between Out of Spec and One, and we've been meaning to make a video, but we just, honestly gets on the back burner. Yeah, there's their Model S, and I forget what it did, but it did a huge number as well.
Okay, yeah, watching this video, I got pretty excited
752 miles.
Proof of concept battery. It's in 2021. Okay. That's with the Gemini battery. Okay. Single charge. Right. So what they mostly do, I think, besides this Gemini battery, LFP is kind of their basic battery chemistry that they're doing. What's that?
There's a Walter over here. He banged on the window to say hello.
That's amazing.
Hey, Walter.
He's getting pretty excited. Hopefully it doesn't come through the window.
He would too. He doesn't know his own strength yet. Right. So he would just bam right through the window.
Dog that size just goes where he wants.
Yes, he does.
I've got to say, didn't you take him to the Cybertruck launch when it was on show?
In Colorado,
in Colorado, and in your video, you're in front of the truck, and people are looking at the truck, and then there's more people like around Walter, like petting him, and
no one wanted to see the truck. It was all Walter.
It's all about Walter, and I'm like, that's amazing.
It was really funny. It was good. Like, obviously he's still a puppy, so we're in that socialization phase, and Alyssa's working with him on everything. But when I'm around, I try and also get him out to stuff. So it's pretty fun.
Right. Nebula brings up GMC said they would be purchasing the LFP battery cells and still be eligible for the credit. Are we talking? I wonder if shouldn't be getting ahead of myself. I'm not sure if he's talking about our Next Energy LFP cells or just the Chevy Bolt in general, because the Chevy Bolt is getting LFP cells when it comes back, and it's coming back in 2025. We just learned, but yeah. So I'm not sure what to make about this. I get really excited. I watch this video and I get really excited. Then Kyle, you mentioned, they did this a couple of years ago. So now I'm like, oh shoot, maybe this is still. I'm not sure how far away we are from actual production.
So BMW, BMW has had a history of investing in startups that they end up just dropping and they don't do anything. But at least they're like always trying to get into new companies. And so now I think One has some potential here. I don't know much about the tech beyond what you shared here, but it sounds like it's worth a video. Sounds like maybe we should have Francie on for a midweek episode all about her tech experience, focusing on this and grid interconnections and stuff. I think that would make a cool episode. So maybe in the next week or two we can do that.
How big was the battery again, Dom?
Was it 185 kilowatt hours?
Yeah. Plus. It was 185 plus.
Right. And
I don't know what that plus means.
More than 185.
I know, but why not just
maybe 185 is a nominal, and
that seems big, doesn't it? That's
it's smaller than the Hummer battery.
Online calculator. So,
but also like the iX never does great in their WLTP or EPA cycles when it far exceeds it in real life.
They got 608 miles they did with 185 kilowatt hours. They just stacked the thing, which is 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency. What the iX50 has? It's 111 kilowatt hour pack, 105.2 usable. That's they're doing WLTP now. WLTP is 380 on it's 380 on that one. And so what would that be? 380 divided by 105. Oops, that's my bad. 105.2. That's 3.6. So how is that worse? How is their new battery worse than what was BMW put in it? So
yeah, it's got to be either losses at the pack level, so heat loss plus weight, their coast down data.
Wait. Yeah.
Plus, did they do it properly? That did not look like a fully temperature controlled, fully
that's kind of weird, isn't
road situation. I don't know.
I know.
that didn't look like a full EPA cert lab or a WLTP cert lab.
I mean, it may have been. I don't know where they took it, but so it's 180, 185. Wait, what have I done? I don't know.
Hey, Martin.
Nobody wants it to be that big. So 180. Can I do this? 185. I just want to make sure I'm not saying the wrong thing about a company worth $1.2 billion. But this is so 185 divided by. Let's do the gross pack size of
I lost what you're trying to do here, Martin. What's he trying to do?
They've made the battery pack 66% bigger. Is that right? They put
something
a 66%
like that, yeah.
bigger pack inside it, and they went 608 miles versus 380, which is the altitude, which is 60. So again, that doesn't make any sense.
It's close enough. There's testing.
Yeah, I guess so. But they put a bigger pack in and went further. But actually, the
efficiency went down, which makes sense.
Went down.
Went up.
So yeah, what we could do?
So the pack.
No, Dom, you don't understand. What we could do today.
So Dom, the DC to DC converters, I guess they need to improve the efficiency of those. That's one of the things that they mentioned. That I think the efficiency of the pack is not.
So there's internal losses,
right? There's I believe the overall efficiency of the pack is not as efficient as the standard pack, and that's one of those things that they're working out for commercialization.
Let me work this out. So they just did 608 miles with 385. 185 kilowatt hour pack. So what we'll do is we'll double that, which is 1,200 miles. 180 times 2 is 370. So what I'm going to do today, Dom, is invent an EV that does 1,200 miles. Okay? We just invented one. It does. We're going to put a 370 kilowatt hour pack inside it. There's no room for passengers. But I'm going to launch my company today. Does 1,200 miles.
Martin, I've been telling you we should do this for years, collect all the reservation money, and we'll be in the Bahamas.
So they're worth 1.2 billion. I will take half that valuation from any investors watching right now. We just invented a 1,200 mile EV. It's got a 370 kilowatt hour pack in. No one's done this in the world before, and we're going to be quids in. Reservations open today, by the way, for that. You can give me $250,000 to get your name on. This is why I understand it. So actually, in the comments, in all seriousness, somebody in the comments said that the advance here, the breakthrough is it's the same physics. So they've put 185 kilowatt hours in what BMW do 111 kilowatt. Well, that makes sense. Because the headline is that all the mainstream media will pick up on is 608. It's a big number.
Right.
But I can make any number as big as you like, because all they've done is they've just put a massive battery. Look how far we went with our huge battery. I could tow that and go just. So I don't want to be down on them, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, instead of having if you put this in the Hummer, instead of having a 6,000 pound battery, you'd have like 4,000 pound battery or something. It's a ton of weight out of a Hummer, which improves driving dynamics, probably range to some extent.
But no Hummer has a 6,000 pound battery. But either way,
right. I forget the exact number.
But you're Mr. Volumetric Density, Dominic. So this is what you care about. You want sports cars that are fun to drive, that are light.
Gravimetric density. Yeah.
There you go. So there you go. This is what that helps with.
I don't understand the stuff you understand with batteries, but to me, to say we went 608 miles, we added 60% more battery, and we went 60% further. Please invest in our company. I don't get it. But yeah, if all the advances are in weight or something, then
that's the thing. It's like a lot a lot more energy
Oh.
dense cell, so the vehicles can be a lot lighter. And it's a big deal, and
I
you
wanna
can
ma-
fit in that same space as well.
Well, I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something obvious.
We could make a 5,000-mile range
Yeah!
car. We
We're
just
rich,
need a
guys.
giant trailer to load some megapacks on it.
Right.
In all seriousness, so yeah, obviously they laid off a quarter of their staff recently. 128 people went from the company
It's true. Mhm.
recently. They're really struggling in terms of they probably launched this business in a different economy than we're in now, and it's going to be tough to get more investment. But as Carl says, BMW have got a good track record in doing this, and if ultimately our Next Energy don't make it or whatever, but BMW as a big investor are left with the tech that they can gobble up for, not putting whatever money they've put into it, it's not on the cheap, you know what I'm saying? Integrate that into BMW. That's got to be good that these big OEMs are investing in startups, startups that a couple of years ago were worth crazy valuations. So it's a one-off car, like the Tesla. It's a one-off. The people there, obviously want to scale this. And I'd love to talk to them and find out, more as well. Same as you guys. I'd love to kind of get an insight into what they're working on.
Nebula asks, how far would a Tesla semi go with a trailer full of batteries?
That's a video we need to do.
Yeah,
That's a video we need to do. By the way, can I just get everyone watching this? How many people are watching live right now?
384.
Yeah.
Okay, don't tell anyone.
Okay.
Keep it between all 400 of us. I have an idea that I think would be really fun for CES, which is I want to do a race. I want to do a race to Vegas, but I think we should all race BZ4Xs.
Oh no!
Yes, we get 10 of them. There's 40 of them at my Hertz rental lot right now. So we just want 10 for the week, and we see what the heck happens.
Is this punishment for something?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes down to how well do you know the car's limitations, and how good of an EV road tripper are you, and how much do you know the infrastructure based on anyone. It's a whole strategy game.
Okay.
Because Green River, there's only 4 ports, and usually one works.
Oh.
So what's your Green River strategy?
Get there before you guys.
Right? Do you take the range, but you can't make it there on one charge in BZ4X from here?
Or you gotta go, or unless you go slow. I mean, you can make it
You'd have to go
anywhere if you go
30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That might be the move. Yeah, this is all interesting topics. Yeah.
I do genuinely love the same, like all of the. It's like watching Spec Series racing, like the same vehicle. Like they're all rentals. They've all been abused. Like that's perfect.
Yeah, well, they're all brand new, which is kind of cool actually, because they just got them all delivered. So they're all like the same stuff. And then I thought we would have someone who's never driven an electric car take a Tesla Model Y and just drive there and see if anyone can even get close in any of the Subarus.
It's amazing. We
Subaru. So we're gonna Solterra.
Oh yeah, Solterra or BZ4X. They actually have both of them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I saw that they actually sold 400 Solterras last month in November.
No way.
Which is like
all to my local Hertz station.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was just wondering who's buying these exactly.
Well, there's no YouTube videos from owners being like, "Hey, welcome to my Solterra channel." So maybe it is all rentals.
I think it is. Around here, I've seen, by the way, on where was I recently? Yeah, even just driving around here, or was it Ohio? I was somewhere. I saw a bunch. Yeah, it's around here of BZ4Xs and Solterras. People are buying them, and you know what? That has a fantastic all-wheel drive system, and it has fine, 32 amp level 2 overnight charging is perfectly fine, and it's got radiant heating, which is really cool. And it's the right size, and they seemingly are like built pretty well. So I think it's fine if you never go on a road trip.
Right. Yeah. For not road tripping, the other stuff, the off road, there's a bit of off-roadiness to it, right? Too. You took them off road.
Yeah, the powertrain management off road. Their X mode is almost class leading.
Okay. See, and I think
you go anywhere in them, and you go, why would I pay more money than a Tesla Model Y for this hunk of crap?
Right. Well, there could be reasons, I guess, if you're going off-road a fair amount. I don't know.
Yeah, Model Y is pretty good. Or just like buy something actually off-roady. Yeah, right. But I think the Subaru and the Toyota, that X mode thing actually is great.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look and see what else we have in the news. Not a whole lot of big stories. I did want to mention, though, that the Chevy Bolt, it was just reaffirmed that it's coming. The LFP pack is coming in 2025, but it's only going to be the EUV. Inside EVs broke that yesterday. They got in touch with GM and they confirmed that it's only going to be the EUV. And from what I understand, I guess the EUV outsells the EV 2-to-1, which I didn't know. I only see the EV around here because we have our city of Tallahassee has a fleet of Bolt EVs, and that's basically what I see. I don't really see the next one. So, but it sounds like it's going to be basically, I'm not sure if they're going to do much in the way of changes to the exterior styling. I imagine they will update it, I guess, but for the most part, that body structure is the same. So this next little bit is engineering the LFP battery pack to fit inside, and setting up the supply chain to deal with the huge volumes, and that takes some time. That's why they can't, extend like they're going to stop building this now. And I imagine they kind of want to keep on building it, but there's a whole issue with the supply chain. They didn't, they have to plan ahead some time. You have all the batteries and all the different parts, to build these things in numbers going forward. And those contracts are ending, so they're kind of stuck for a little while until they reestablish all that kind of stuff. I saw my name in the chat. Oh, the EV was in production much longer is likely why, Dom. It's true. Oh, except the first few years of the Bolt has had a rough go of it over its product lifetime, right? It came out in 2015 or 16, and all the batteries were recalled at some point. So that's a huge hit to the program. It's just been not an easy road, probably not a profitable road for GM either. Although they've sold a lot this year with the new improved batteries, and things are finally going right. So I just want to get out there, and also should mention, I guess, to give it the accolades it deserves. The Chevy Bolt EV was named the 2023 Fleet Car of the Year, actually, by AutomotiveFleet.com.
Just as it goes out of production.
Bye, man.
So that's pretty much all the news I have. Just a couple other items that. Yeah, we have a couple minutes.
That new Bolt's really exciting. Even if they could just give it 100 kilowatt charging and it could just sit flat. Oh,
yeah,
what a car!
Yeah, that'd be great. And if they can keep the price, the same price point, they have a winner at this price point, because I'm touching that right now.
Such a Bolt fan. They're great. They're reliable, except for the early ones that caught on fire. But they're reliable, and the new ones look really good, and they're like actually fun to drive. They're enjoyable, and they're great.
It's not just fun to drive as a Spark EV, but we can't
True.
have it all.
Your Spark was really
that was
enjoyable.
Blast.
Yeah.
So what is this? Okay, so this is a bit of news out of China that I thought it was kind of important to mention. So the world's biggest battery company is CATL. CATL, I call it. So they developed a new skateboard chassis that gets, they say, 621 miles under the CLTC rating. So 621 miles. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking, well, that could hit 500 miles of range, which is a great number still. So this battery company is developing a chassis, and apparently it's going to go, the first vehicle it's going to go under is a new automaker called Neta, Neta. And they're already, I think, into their second generation of vehicles. It's a relatively young company, though. They have a GT out now, Neta does, and a sedan, and a couple like subcompact or compact crossovers.
Here's what I don't understand.
Right.
Why would Inside EVs put 621 mile range in the title and then say right below it, don't trust that number?
It's a bad number. Here's the number. It's a bad number.
Well, give it what they're saying, and they give you some context to take it.
Tell me what's a good number. So
I don't know. How about just like, don't use bad data?
And it is very wild. I mean, Dom, I think 500 miles, you're enormously generous with that. Like with CLTC, I think if you halve it, well, I think if you halve it and then get a bit more generous, then go up a little bit, you're probably not a million miles away. So
you think it's more of a 400 mile?
Yeah, probably. It's like, it's not even WLTP. Like,
right. But I just find it interesting.
I think the EPA number that you get is as close to real world as any of the tests that happen.
That's what we find. Yep.
Yeah.
And it depends on which cycle, but most cars are now running the multi-cycle test, which is more accurate.
I think people are getting their their publicized range figures a bit better. I think EV Inside, somebody just did, Consumer Reports just did a test where half of the vehicles they tested didn't meet the range, the posted range, but they didn't do a range test they didn't try to, synthesize the EPA range test. They just did their own highway range test, and then
different
they
tests
get
will
different
give you
results.
different results.
I
I don't know. But
know.
if you did the if you did the exact EPA test and then you didn't get the numbers that the car makers said, then
Right.
you have a problem.
Right. I didn't really get that whole report and test
It's like
thing.
I drove up the Alps and then someone else drove in the Netherlands, in the flattest country in the world, and we got different range numbers.
Yeah. I mean, so the EPA range test is not perfect by any stretch, and it really needs to maybe, I think, be revised and give us some different, more helpful information. I think people need to see cold range and.
Well, they do factor cold range.
Right.
They do a 20-degree Fahrenheit.
That's true. Right. You were looking at, that was mentioned. So we were looking at the EPA, or you were looking at the EPA certification documents with Francie on your Out of Spec podcast, and it went into some of that as well. So the only other news I have here is that Morgan has an electric. It's not a product yet. It's not a product yet. I don't know if you can pull that up, Martin.
Yeah, it's coming.
But this is the second
they
time.
did this to us before. They launched.
Yes.
They said they were going to do an EV, and then they didn't do an EV.
Right. And the other one looked fabulous. Like the first one they did, I thought they did a pretty good job. It's kind of hard to beat a Morgan, the original Morgan, with like a V twin stuck to the front of it, like exposed for all the world to see.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like iconic. It looks amazing.
Brilliant.
So, right. So this is the new one, XP1 experimental. I didn't think we were actually going to get to it today, so I didn't pull up all the specs.
This should have been the headline story.
But it's not a real thing. It's like a prototype.
Doesn't matter. It's from Morgan. It's great.
Yeah, it's very cool.
You can't be objective and review a Morgan.
It's not it doesn't matter what the specs are, because if it ever arrives, it would be different. Look at this thing. Very cool.
Chili peppers.
We can work it out. I won't do more man maths, but we could work that out. We could work out the range from this data.
Right. It's got a 100 kilowatt motor, so maybe 150 horsepower-ish.
Right. I hate every prototype except for when Morgan does something.
I like the screen.
I will, if you ever see, I have reviewed Morgans and driven them, and I'm such a fan.
Yeah. Well, they've put 795 miles on this, apparently, according to the odometer.
Wow. I want to drive it. Let me put some miles on it.
Yeah. You plan to go into Europe sometime soon? Actually, it's in England. And Martin,
I'll be in Europe in like 3 days.
Yeah,
Martin, everything's like only like 20 minutes away from you.
That's true.
England's small.
Everything is so close.
It's just it's an island, right?
Speaking of which, thank you to everybody on the Battery Bargains episode that we did. We sold the Kona last weekend, and so now I have money burning a hole, and so I want to either choose between a Model 3 long range, which will be probably a 2021, because I want the rear parking sensors, but I want reasonably good. I want the 22 for the big new LG battery pack that charges quickly, but I want parking sensors too. Or I can't stop thinking about the Audi e-tron, because it's right at around 30. And as you just said, Dom, everything in England is within 20 minutes. So who cares if it's got 1.8 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency? I'll get there anyway, eventually. And I can't stop thinking about that car, even though I know I should buy the Model 3.
Well, you haven't owned a Tesla yet.
And that's what Tom said.
Yeah, and I think the e-tron, if you had owned a Model 3 previously, I would say buy an e-tron. You're going to enjoy that more. You need to see the integration of Tesla ownership.
I do. And I saw the news today that in the Christmas update, or one coming soon, the Apple Podcast is becoming native into Tesla, which is good. I mean, I don't personally use Apple Podcasts a lot, but just when you read stuff like that, you're like, man, I just need to be on top of all this kind of stuff and have a Tesla in the driveway and own one. So
maybe it's like 6 months. Maybe 6 months is long enough, and then go to an Audi e-tron.
How much more is a Model Y used?
$5,000. They're 35 because they're quite new to the UK. So they're still 35, which we could stretch to.
I think you would like it so much more.
Yeah, with the hatchback and the kid stuff and the push chairs and the buggies.
Just you know what? Just get the there's no such thing as the right price for the wrong car. Get the Model Y.
Are you a used car salesman now? As well?
You could be.
Yeah.
That is great. Can you say that again?
All
Oh,
right.
but I've said it. I say it all the time. There's no such thing as the right price on the wrong car.
Okay.
Other way around. Other way. That's it.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
another wrong. No, yeah,
Yeah. That's
right
it. Okay.
price
Well,
on the wrong car. Yeah,
Model Y it is then. All right.
yeah. Get
So-
a Model Y, long range.
If you don't only have
Holiday.
it for like 6 months or so, it might not depreciate too
It'll
much.
Hold its value better,
Yeah, it might hold its value decently. It might only be out $1,000.
especially with Model 3 Highland going to push the Model 3 prices down. Model Y refresh is still some ways away. Yeah, just get a Model Y.
Yeah, maybe I'll wait till January when no one's buying cars and come in with a silly offer and buy a Model Y then. Okay, but yeah, thank you to everyone who. And that was Tom's point. He's like, dude, I agree. Buy an e-tron, but also you got to buy a Tesla. And if you would like your buying decisions suggested and chewed over by us or some of the team, then that's the email address on screen right now. If you're listening to the pod version, batterybargains@batteriesincludedpodcast.com. They all go straight to Dom and he collates them and pulls them together and does a wonderful job in putting that midweek show together.
Yeah, which reminds me, we need to record another one or like this weekend or do it live again on Monday.
Easy.
We did live last week. It was fun. It was great. I'd do it again. See if you're all available, but we can talk about that afterwards. For today, is there anything else that we need to talk about?
No, I'm good.
I'm out of news over here.
Well, we're 6 minutes late.
We've hit our time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess we should let you all go and enjoy the rest of your day. It's Friday. Come on, let's go have some lunch. That brings us to the end of our show. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Don't forget, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up and click subscribe. Tap that bell icon for notifications. Thank you all very much for joining us. Really appreciate having you here and chatting with us in the comments. We'll see you all again very soon. Ciao.